talk about these new VBs a lot, and I've been telling people everyone is sleeping on the CVT. I'm going to show you what I mean by everyone's sleeping on the CVT in this video today. Muscle Pikachu. Roar. This is one of the fun part about tuner cars. Everyone gets to style them however they want. But these are great cars, and the CVT is a good option. And you've never heard me say that before, and hopefully I get to say it again, but here we go. Real dirty, but we got muffler deletes, we got coilovers, stock catback. Let's go see what's done up front. We got parent intake. I'm gonna guess it has an inlet because he's got this part here. This is part of the parent inlet system, so I can't see it down there, but I'm gonna guess it's an inlet. I'll go look at the paper. Because this is a CVT, it's really important that we get a Tack pickup on the car. Kind of a pain in the butt down there to get the Tack pickup. What we have to try to do is get this pulled back a little bit on the coil pack. Just want to kind of get the wires exposed. So you can see that, there we go. So now we can actually see the wires. We just pulled the shielding back, and then we just clamp around it before it shrinks itself back into place. And we're just going to grab all the wires. It works pretty good on these. There we go. Should have a good Tack pickup now. Of course, I touched that parent intake filter when I was putting the Tack pickup on, and that's one of the things I hate about the parent intake filters, is they're just so greasy. I mean, I get greasy, I'm a mechanic, but like that, I like parent stuff, I like the way their parts fit, I like the way they install, but the filter, come on guys, you gotta get that grease out of there. So we're gonna start it up, see if we get Tack. Get a Tack signal here. Yep, there it is. And that is accurate to what we're at on this cold start warm-up mode. I hate how these sound with the muffler deletes and the cold start warm-up, but to each their own, you know. First, we got to update this Accessport. There's brand new firmware. And then we're going to have to uninstall this Accessport because there's a bug with the brand new firmware. But it's not too bad. And I'm sure it'll be fixed. It may already be fixed. I don't know. I haven't actually checked today to see if they fixed it. So I'm going to go ahead and uninstall this Accessport from the car. And then I'm going to update the firmware. When you're flashing, make sure you turn off the HVAC and the headlights before you start doing any kind of flash. Once the flash starts, you can't turn off the HVAC, and if you turn off the headlights, it's going to cause a voltage change. You know, voltage is going to change quickly, and you don't want that when you're flashing a car. We are plugged in. Going to get the firmware up to date. So it's doing an actual ECU software update, and so I don't know if you can see it right there. I put the jump box on the car. I don't want to get out and show you, but it's always a good idea to have a jump box whenever you're doing software updates or things that are going to take a long time. As you can see, it's going to take a long time. It's going to have to do the software update, and then it's also going to have to flash the car. So it's two full processes of a slow flash. Second part, and come on, you can do it! You can do it! This is a long process, but it's necessary. And you only have to do it once per car, which when you're tuning cars means you have to do it for every car if they haven't done it already. But whatever, it's part of the deal. It is just the process. Sorry, my work order's up here, making it look all messy. And we are done with that. Cool. Success. Great success. I've been sending this out with the tune files. Last batch. There it is. The VB. Fire it up. Hey, there it is. like I said, this is the CVT. One of the things that I like about these that is different than the manual trans is we have SI drive in this. So I can click and change modes. We can do intelligent, we can do sport, and we can do, oops, gotta hit the third button, sport sharp. Just like the STIs of the 2015 and up generation, I guess 2008 and up generation, SI drive, once you tune the car, can be used to give you multiple boost settings. So I can set this car up to have a low boost, a medium boost, and a high boost map that you can just change with the steering wheel. On the manual trans cars, you have to go into your Accessport, flash a tune, and then you're done. So this just makes it easy. Yeah, it changes the throttle mapping, it changes the shift aggressiveness, and I can make it change the boost level, which is pretty cool. When I say it changes the shift aggressiveness, I actually mostly mean it changes the actual gear ratios that the transmission is targeting. These transmissions, because they're a continuously variable transmission, don't actually have gears, but they have target ratios. And in intelligent mode, it's going to run the gears longer, so I guess it's going to... I can't even say run them longer because it's not the right word, and I just, it bugs me even saying it. But in sport and in sport sharp, like sport sharp specifically, is going to simulate more gear changes, and sport mode is going to simulate less gear changes and longer gears. Because sport sharp is simulating more gear changes, it's actually going to keep you in the real power band of the engine a little bit better. And it shifts really good. So I'm not going to show the tuning process on this car. I've tuned a ton of cars for you guys on the channel. What I am going to show you though is driving the car when we're done and the results of the tuning process. And this is just an intake, inlet, and a cat axle back exhaust. So it's not very modified, and that's kind of, it's going to be cool to be able to show you the power difference between the manual trans and the CVT. Traditionally, like the FA20 WRXs, the VA WRX, the CVT made a lot less power to the wheels. You're going to see something a little different here. Oh, that's a lot of data. Look at all that data. You know, I'm not going to show you guys the tuning process on this car just because I've done it a number of other times, but I just like to show people how much data and how fast. I mean, in the older generations of Subarus, you couldn't log this much data this fast. And the more data you have, the better the tune is going to end up. So just so everybody knows, you can log a lot and you don't have to worry about the data stream getting bogged down. That's my hack to disable eyesight. Sticky notes. Normally you'd have to go into the screen 100 times every single time you flash the car and turn off eyesight, or change customer settings on customer cars, which I don't like to do. So I just put sticky notes over it. Okay, don't mind the hellaciously low number. That was only 10 pounds, and I have the timings pretty low as well. That's always how I start tuning. Everybody that's seen my channel knows that that's what I do. So let's go in here and let's look at, fun thing about Dyno Jet is I can actually log the gear ratio. So let's check the gear ratio. Now I did have a little Tack error. That's my equipment, not the car. But I wanted to show you, people talk about slippy CVTs. The gear ratio here, 81.33, there's no slipping. The ratio is holding true. We are 81.37 at the top of the gear, and clear down at the start, 81.32. This is when it's deciding what gear it wants to be in. But look at that, that's a CVT. And it's holding a single ratio as if it was a manual transmission.
You don't see that normally. You don't even see, like on an traditional torque converter auto trans, you never see this. This is pretty wild, and this is what I was talking about. These cars just work with the CVT. It's wild. So I'm gonna get this tuned up, and I'm gonna do, you know, a lot more power, and I'm gonna show you the difference. Lots of numbers. This is what I was kind of talking about. This is the requested torque in intelligent mode. 330 is our cap. So what we can do in our boost targets, and this is the power of the CVT. It's power of SI drive. I wish they would put SI drive everywhere. So my target was 12 pounds. 330, 12 pounds. We're gonna keep that target there. I like it. So 340, which is my sport target, we're gonna go up to 14 pounds, and we're gonna have 14 for this next pole, and everything but sport mode. So when I go back down, again, I added a little timing too, because I had the timing really low. So if I go to sport mode, let's just do, I think we're simulating third. Sport mode, I have it at 340. And this is me not gatekeeping information, people. If you're a tuner and you're not doing this, you're doing it wrong. Okay, just finished what's probably my last run on the dyno, although I might do another one because the GoPro battery died and I wanted an outside shot. All right, so curly cues is because I shifted the car. We're making 300 horse to the wheels, 337 foot-pounds of torque. So once again, really good power. Like I said, these, even though they're a CVT, work awesome. So all this, what's this? Why does it look like that? Well, let's switch over to from RPM to mile per hour. So we're gonna graph by speed, and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. So this here is a torque reduction on shift. So here we are, 300 horse, holding 300 horse. We actually hit 300 horse twice. Oops, sorry, 299.65 horse twice. So you can see how flat torque is. Torque just basically holds flat. We shift, and then we're instantly, and I lift it off. I didn't let it keep riding out. But that shift happens super fast. See, let's come over to the data log here and see what happens on that shift. So you can see again, we have that torque reduction, and you can see that in the graph. So this is because it's doing the timing like a torque reduction to try to save the trans. But it's not bad. Like, it's very, very quick. Like, I'm shocked at how fast these shift and how fast they get back up into boost. And it did drop a little boost on the shift, and that's because it dropped so much torque through the shift to try to make it good. But let's go back to the graph and let's look at gear ratios. Again, I was talking about this earlier. Gear ratio is 81.27. The ratio at the beginning of the pole, 81.56. So it's holding that ratio really well. And then it drops to the next ratio, 61.78, and it holds 61.7, 62.12. So you're not seeing a big drop through it. So yeah, these things are pretty dialed. All right, let's do another pull for you guys, just so you can see what I'm talking about as far as shift time goes here. So here we go. I'm gonna shift it like 55. That's so crazy. I mean, it shifts like a DCT shift. I use air quotes for shift. It switches ratios like a DCT, but it's not, it's a CVT. And it just does it constantly. And again, look at these gear ratio steps. Ratios flat, step, step. It just works, man. It's crazy. It just works. If you would have told me 3 years ago that a CVT transmission, Subaru WRX, with just an intake, would make over 300 wheel horsepower, I wouldn't have believed you. Not for a second. And if you would have told me it did that, while also only being about 5 horsepower different from the manual transmission version, I also wouldn't have believed you. Here, let me show you. So I have pulled up here, and the blue is a manual transmission, parent intake, stock exhaust car. And in the red is this one. And you can see the blue makes a little more torque. Yeah, it's making, you know, almost 30 more foot-pounds peak. But that top end power, it's almost identical. And this thing being a CVT is gonna spend its time up top. Again, I wouldn't have believed it for a second. Not 1 second. But here it is. Doing it. That's what I got for you guys today. Like I said, I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it. If I hadn't had these on the dyno doing this. I've had quite a few of them now, and I really wanted to make a video, especially after the auto show. I told a bunch of people that that's what these were doing, and nobody believed me. So here it is. Here's the video. Here's the proof, the dyno proof. Just an intake on this one. You put a cat back on them. I guess this has got a muffler deletes. You put a cat back on them. You put other parts. They pick up even more. It's wild. I don't understand it. But cool technology from Subaru, even though it's a CVT. Everyone hates the CVT, but it's working. Check them out. See for yourself. You ready to go for a ride, Pikachu? Pika. And then for people who poo-poo about dam and knock on these CVTs, I've got this thing tuned out pretty good. This is almost a 10-minute log, just shy of 10 minutes, and there's not a single actual count of feedback or fine knock learn, and that included two wide open throttle burns there. No knock. That was a 1, 2, 3 gear, so I went through 3 gears there. Oh, there's another one, wide open throttle there, wide open throttle here, wide open throttle, gear there, and then wide open throttle over here with 2 gears. So no knock. Something that I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised there was no knock. These cars tend to pull knock feedback and whatnot just kind of randomly, but it is an interesting thing to note. And we have this off the shelf, not the tune I just made on this car, but we have an off the shelf map for these CVT stage 1 with the Perrin, ETS, or Cobb/stock intake on PeriRacing.com. It's just an option when you go to buy the stage 1 tune if you want it for the CVT. If you want a tune for something a little bit more than just an intake, you may want to consider a custom tune. I don't know that I would do just an OTS map for that, but these cars perform really well, and they just work. So hop over there, buy that tune if you want it. Otherwise, you can message us about